24. This one, I started to think about titling it How to Misuse Tools. But that's really not fair because this is just an alternate technique for some of these tools. Now in lessons 1 through 5, we talked a lot about how the spindle roughing gouge, the skew, the shallow and deep fluted gouges work for the major cuts. But I want to spend a little bit of time today showing you other things that can be done with these and other tools. It's not a long one, but I just want to let you know that just because this is called a spindle roughing gouge and we taught you one way, there may be other ways to use that same tool. So let me set it up and show you what I mean. I'm going to set up a piece of wood. Sorry about that noise. Let's set up a piece of wood here between centers. And we're going to rough it out. Now I know we use a spindle roughing gouge for that, but we can also use other things too. Sharp piece of wood. Had to move the tailstock in a little bit farther. Secured. Secured. It's going to drive tight. Everything's locked. Now, we have learned with the spindle roughing gouge to make this kind of a cut. Yeah, I got different safety glasses. That works fine. But you know that this deep fluted gouge could equally do this roughing out task. When I present the side of this tool to the wood sees it pretty much like the edge of the roughing out gouge. So I can do roughing out with this. And at home, I probably do a lot of roughing out with my deep fluted gouge. In fact, one of my deep fluted gouges is made up with a very short handle, specifically to allow me to do tasks like this for small projects, roughing out. And it's pretty fast. So that's another use of your deep fluted gouge. A lot of times if the spindle is small in diameter, roughing out with a skew chisel gives you a very nice cut. And a very nice surface. So this right here, which I just hit with the skew chisel, you heard a little tap tap as went around. Here's a knot. This is a much cleaner surface than this end here, which I did with the gouge. Hate that sound. Now, I wouldn't rough out a very large piece with my skew chisel because as the corners come around and hit, they can go flying, and that's shrapnel. That's face shield type of work. And I think it's probably not worth it to take that kind of a risk there. But there's a roughing out cut. Now let's look at these roughing out gouges again. Here's mine, one of mine from home. Here's the one we had at school. They're different brands. And basically, they are about a third of a circle, which means as I cut, I can roll this tool this way and present similar edges. So when the center is dull, I can go over here. But mine is more U-shaped, which means that it has two wings that are almost vertical. And some of the newer ones that are made here in the United States where they are milled from solid stock definitely have a U-shaped profile. Why is that important? That side wing, if presented at an angle, is a shearing cut. I can complete this by taking this tool, setting that wing up, and I've got a shearing cut that was just similar to what I did with the skew chisel. And if you could see the surface like I can, this is a really nice finished surface. We taught originally like this. I'm now presenting the tool at a 45-degree angle using this vertical edge as a completing cut. Very similar to the cut that we got off that skew chisel, and leaving a surface very, very nice. So roughing out. Let's try something else. I'm going to take this off. Get rid of my spur drive here. Well, actually, I'm going to leave it in for a second because I need to make a tenon before I can demonstrate this next piece. So before I take this out, let me put this up between centers. And let's do a tenon here. Yeah, there's a little one on there already. I practiced before we started the video. Oh, it's a little out of line. Okay, good. That means I have to square it up. Oh, let's see, what tool am I going to use? Let's use a roughing gouge. Just get that square. Now I have to make a tenon. And there's nothing wrong with using our parting tool to start it. Now in the next lesson, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about making tenons for all different types of chucks. But I want to show you that with this tool right here. We can come in straight across there, and you saw me planing back and forth a little bit. What that was doing was really leveling this area. If it's a little large, I can come across with the corner of this tool, planing cut. I need this corner in here sharp. I'm going to roll the tool slightly to get in here and undercut that corner so it's nice and clean. The better way we've always done is me to grab one of our skew chisels and come in here and clean that corner up. But we could have done it with the edge of that tool. So I have a tenon on this. Now we'll put it in the chuck. Spur drive out. Done. And we'll go to our 4-jaw chuck. And we'll put this piece in the chuck. Get the key started. There we go. It's a perfect tenon. Luckily. The jaw is pretty well closed around here. I've got a good support on it. But anytime I remount something, there's always a little error that needs to be cleaned up. So let's use our shallow fluted gouge. Clean up this one here. I just cleaned up the surface. That's all I actually did. So, if this was going to be a vase or a small goblet, I need to hollow this out. One thing is use a drill bit. Other thing might be to use my shallow fluted gouge as a drill. I'm going to come over here, set this up to be dead center. Slight adjustments. And I'm going to put the tool in, not straight like this, but rotate it over, I'll do my finger this way, at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to push. Now, this edge is cutting on the bottom. The edge on the top, the wood is moving away from. I've just drilled a hole down to about here, just that easy. And hollowing out, again, shallow fluted gouges at that 45-degree angle, placed inside. Let me hold on the bottom so you can see better. Keeping the tool level. And just simply pushing the handle backwards. So we drilled about that deep. If the hole was really going to go much deeper, we'd probably want to pick up a more massive tool, something that wouldn't vibrate. This one, when it gets out much farther, is going to start vibrating. Remember, right on center line, there it is to the bottom of the hole. I want to be sure that's right at center. If I'm a little high or a little low, it's not going to work quite as well. So on center, 45 degrees. And I'm pivoting around my hand like that. An easy way to hollow. Another hollowing technique that we sometimes use is just a round nose scraper. Now I've got to figure out where that needs to be. Because this is a thinner tool, I'm going to have to raise my tool rest. And I want to go downhill slightly, so I can come in here. But I was drilling with the edge of this round nose scraper, so there's no reason I can't use that as a drill, as long as I don't exceed the length at which that tool is most effective. In other words, the deeper you go, the bigger the tool needs to be to keep the vibration down. Thought? Okay. Now, we want to roll some beads maybe back here, since we have this piece in here. And we know that the way we've always done it in the past is to come here with our shallow fluted gouge. And do cuts like that. However, there's no reason I can't use a parting tool. However, looking for the right parting tool here. The size of the parting tool makes a difference. With this one, because it is so thick in this distance here, it's going to be a little hard to manipulate on a small project. This one, which is narrower in this direction here, is going to roll a really nice bead. In the flat. And it won't catch near as much either. So there's nothing wrong with a parting tool, and there actually are tools that look like this that are even wider, and when it becomes wider, we now tend to name this thing slightly differently. We call it a beading and parting tool because it is so wide, it's perfect for rolling a big bead, just like that. So I find that these tools work really, really well, and practicing with your parting tools for cuts like that is really useful. Also, can I plane a little bit with this thing? I'm cutting with the corner of that tool just simply by advancing it across this wood. Still not around there, so. That's a parting tool, and I'm making a planing cut. So it's another thing we can do with our parting tools. Pretty flexible tool if we use it properly. Now we talked about roughing out with a skew chisel, but if I pick up the right skew chisel, I actually have one at home, this one, highly radiused. And what this is for, nothing more than scraping. So if I want to clean this surface up, you hear it vibrating a little bit. got it quite round, but I have now. And I've left a pretty decent surface there. Right here, there's some tear out right on the top, which I hadn't hit yet. So in essence, this is a negative rake scraper, whether I'm presenting it this pattern or this direction. And I can go straight in with this tool because the angle of the edge is already downhill. So I don't have a risk of catching. You can actually do some shaping with it too. Nice little cove. It's going to fit the shape of that particular tool. Double-edged scraper. Many times we do spindle work and we may have a knot or something in the middle of the spindle and nothing wants to tend to clean it up. Take your skew chisel, lay it flat on the tool rest, and move it slowly back and forth over that knot. Many times that will clean it up for you really, really easily. Well, what else do I want to show you here? We talked about shallow fluted gouges for making beads, but we can also make beads with it this way. I may have mentioned this in another video when we talked about beading and parting, but this is a tool that has been reground severely straight across, and we have created a bead-shaped form here. And all we have to do is lay this tool upside down on the tool rest and take it in. Walking back and forth. And when that bottom gets rounded over, got a perfect bead. And this is really good for tools when they get really short. You figure it's about time to throw it away. Take it to the grinder, lay it flat on the wheel like this, then use it upside down to do beads like that. You've seen these, a standard bench chisel. It is no more than a one-sided skew chisel. There's no reason I can't use this just like I would use a skew chisel. I'll get that tool rest in just a little closer. And I felt it slip down, retighten it. Not only did that cut cleanly, I can see a sheen on that wood. This is poplar again, soft, where this tool rubbed. This is no more than a skew chisel. Works exactly the same. So you have some old bench chisels, nothing wrong with using them differently also. Well, I talked a little bit about tenons, just a minute. So in the next video, we're going to spend a great deal of time talking about tenons. There are two types, dovetail and straight. There are internal and external. So there's 4 different variations. And one of the difficulties with tenons is if they are not well made, you have risk for your project and a safety risk. So we want to spend a little time talking about how to make the perfect tenon. See you in the next lesson.